two watches, both of them similar styles, similar dials, similar sizes, both came from the same seller, both approximately the same price, both came to me in non-working condition. One is the Eterna-Matic from 1956. The other is the Hamilton Automatic from the 50s, not sure exactly, but the movement was produced between 1950 and 1954. So I'm going to call them approximately the same age. And so what I did last night when I was, well, not drunk, but I had a few beers in me, is well, this one I did before. This one is the specs on both watches, and then this one right here I decided to do after a few beers was to create, kind of put the two watches side by side and compare them, and each one of them gets a point for a win, 0 if they lost. I'm not going to take anything away, and we're going to compare the two. I'm going to compare the two. And of course, this is subjective. People may disagree with me wholeheartedly, and that's fine. But what I'm going to do is put the two watches together and compare them, give a point, and then see which one wins in the end, in my opinion. All right, so let's get started. Take a look at the watches. Now, looking at the two watches side by side, you can see they are very close in appearance. You wouldn't be able to tell. It's difficult to tell the difference. You can see that the markers are slightly different. Both have 12 and 6 o'clock, but the Hamilton has 9 and 3, and then markers all the way around, whereas the Eterna-Matic only has 12 and 6 at 12 and 6, and the markers everywhere else. And they both have stainless steel cases. So if we're comparing the two, dead draw on that one. Now, case design. Taking a closer look at the Hamilton, you can see it does have a recessed crown, but not completely recessed, and the lugs do not quite go all the way to the case. There is a divot here, whereas if you look at the Eterna-Matic, the crown is completely recessed. Now, whether this is the original crown or not, I doubt it, because it does not have the 5 bearing dots. But you can see that the lugs just blend in with the case. So I am on the case design. I am going to go with the Eterna-Matic, so that will get 1 point. Now, if you also look at the Eterna-Matic, get a good close look here, you can see that this is a redial for 2 reasons, 3 reasons actually. If you look at the Eterna-Matic is not perfect, and you can see some of the lume dots are not exactly round. They are oval in some places, and they also look brand new, and there is no Swiss made or Swiss at the bottom. Whereas the Hamilton, you can see that is an original dial. You can see the Hamilton, the Swiss, and the automatic are all perfectly stamped on there, and you can also tell by the dial has a little bit of a texture from age. So this is an original dial. So I am going to give Hamilton a point for it being an original dial. Now, the dial design, I am actually going to give that to Eterna-Matic. You can see there is a patterning around the rim, almost a wave patterning. It's not too dissimilar from the Eterna-Matic, which has more of a checker style patterning around. All right. And so as far as the case size, the case on the Eterna is 34.4. The Hamilton is 33 millimeters. Case size, the larger one does look a little bit better on my 6.5 inch wrist, so I will give it to the Eterna on that one. Lug to lug on the Eterna is 41.4, on the Hamilton is 40.22 millimeters. I didn't count that as points because that really, you know, that kind of goes with how it wears on my wrist. So I'm just leaving that one. Okay, so the lug width on the Eterna is 18. Hamilton is 17.5, so very close there. No points awarded to each one. Thickness is similar to both of them. The Eterna is 11.4 millimeters, and the Hamilton is 11 millimeters. So just a 0.4 millimeter difference there. So very, very close on those. And let's take a look at the inside of these two. And before I get to the movements, I'm going to do a case back check here. As you can see, the Eterna has nothing written on the back side, whereas the Hamilton has information. I called this one a draw because some people, I prefer just plain. Some people like to have more information. So this says lifetime mainspring, shock resistant, waterproof, stainless steel, Hamilton. And then if we take a look at the inside of the back, Hamilton Watch Company, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, stainless steel, and then a case serial number, Star Watch Case Company. And then on the inside of the Eterna, you see Eterna-Matic, Swiss, and then Acier, and stainless steel essentially. And then the two movements, the Eterna has the 1412U automatic movement, 17 joules, running at 18,000 vibrations or beats per hour, and that is unadjusted. And then taking a look at the Hamilton, has the ETA 1256 movements, and they call it a 672. 17 joules unadjusted, 18,000 bph. Similar specs in there. As far as the movement design, I'm going to go with the Eterna. When it comes to the Hamilton, though, because it is a 1256, there was 11,760,102 units of those produced. So parts availability are going to go to the Hamilton. The Eterna movement was produced between 1953 and 1958. The ETA 1256 was produced between 1950 and 1954. Diameters on the watch movements are 28.2 millimeters for the Eterna, 26 millimeter diameter for the Hamilton. Now they both have automatic movements with hand winding. Now one of the issues with the recessed crown is, although it does have hand winding, it does make a lot more difficult to wind the watch. You can only grab it from one side or the underside to wind it, which is not a good idea, because what that'll do is that'll put pressure on the stem and could cause the stem to bend, and obviously that would not be a good thing. Alright, so let's see, ease to work on. This was another one I did. I would say they're both fairly easy to work on. There's nothing complicated about either of them. Both of them, the automatic assembly comes off in one piece, and essentially under there all you have is a manual wind movement, and then you can take the automatic assembly apart and oil it. Now the automatic movement, the rotor on the Eterna, which is what they're known for, the 5 dots, you can see the 5 bearings that help reduce friction in the rotor, which this has been shifting out of place. So I think what happened is it shifted again, and that's kind of a really pain to deal with. Whereas on the ETA movement, it's essentially the rotor is fitting on a stalk, so you have to unscrew a screw from the underside of the assembly and pull the rotor off to lubricate that. All right, what's up next? Shock system. Ooh, that was a, okay, all right, this is a good one. So the shock system, as you can see in the Eterna, is hinged. The Hamilton is a KIF movement, KIF trior. All right, I'm going to give it to the hinged all the time. I don't care, Inca block, I don't care if it's hinged. You have to take the cap jewel off the whole jewel. You can't just use an automatic oiler, because I have one, but you need to clean off that residue, that old oil that's still, there's always going to be a speck in there. I don't care whether you stick it in a cleaning machine or in an ultrasonic. You have to remove the cap jewel from the whole jewel to clean off that cap jewel, get that oil off. Otherwise you're just putting good oil on top of old dried up oil. So KIF, fortunately I have a couple of KIF kits which come with the tools and springs, because not on the balance cock but on the main plate. Now I don't blink when I take those things off. I was taking the main plate, the spring off the main plate, and literally just disappeared. I mean, I did not blink. I swear to you, it was in my tweezers and then it was gone. Like I said, fortunately I do have KIF springs, and I was able to replace it because that was nowhere to be found. I don't know if it ended up in my hair. It wasn't on the floor, it wasn't on the table, it was nowhere to be found. It was gone. Possibly at some point I'll find it, but the point goes to the hinged. It goes to Eterna. All right, what's up next? Shock system, ability to adjust. Now the Eterna-Matic does have the ability to adjust for the beat. So this allows you to adjust for the timing and the beat, whereas the ETA will only allow you to adjust for the time. So that one will go to Eterna. And I think that's it. Yeah, said parts availability is always good for, you know, it'll be difficult to find parts, more difficult to find parts for the Eterna than it will for the Hamilton. So I think when I came down to it, let's see, Eterna got 5. Well, I think Eterna got 5 and Hamilton got 3. So Eterna wins it. If you ask me before I did this and what my opinion was, I like them both. You know, yes, the Eterna fits better on my wrist because it is slightly larger, you know, 1.4 millimeters larger, and then let's see, what was the lug-to-lug, 0.4 millimeters. No, that's thickness. Lug-to-lug was just about a millimeter more. So really very similar. Both of them, as you can see, have screw down backs. But, you know, I bought this one, and when I was looking at that, I saw this one. This one came to me in the mail, and I was thinking, yeah, should I go back and look at this one? This one said the balance was good. This one didn't give me any information on the balance at all. Fortunately, well, what I did before I even ordered this one was to look to see if I had any 1256 movements. Fortunately, I have 3 of them. So I was thinking that, and all 3 of them, the balances are good. So you know, I have the spare movements, so if the balance was broken on this one when it came to me, I was going to be okay. Now, with the 1256, for some reason, even though all 3 of them have good balance staffs, and the balance is fine, hairspring is fine, none of them had pallet forks. I had probably pulled one out of one once before, and all 3 of them had broken 4th wheels, so you couldn't fit a second hand on there. Why that is, I don't know, but when I was working on these, I was making sure extra careful that when I was working on this one, I did not mess up the center wheel. Not the center wheel. The center wheel's fine. The fourth wheel or the pallet fork. On this one, of course, like I said, I don't know what the chances of me finding another one of these movements out there or how much it would cost, but you know, I paid just over $100 for both of these. This one was about $15 more. So anyway, yeah, so I know there are people that are going to disagree with me, and they're going to say the Hamilton should have won hands down. You know, maybe just because it's all original, there is no redial on this, and the Eterna-Matic should have lost. But, you know, after a few beers, I'm going to trust my opinion, and I'm going to go with what I came up with. Side by side on my 6.5-inch wrist, you can see the two watches. 33 millimeters for the Hamilton opposed to 34.4 millimeters on the Eterna-Matic. I think they both look good on my wrist. I think the Eterna-Matic looks a little bit better in my opinion.